I'm William Pierce, chairman of the National Alliance.
I'll begin with the sex murder in Danbury, Connecticut of 13-year-old Christina Long. Christina, a bright, pretty sixth grader, was lured to a shopping mall by 25-year-old Saul Dos Reis, a mestizo illegal alien from Brazil. Dos Reis had sex with the blonde, blue-eyed little gringa in his car, then killed her and threw her corpse into a nearby creek. Well, you may think that sort of thing happens all the time these days, but it's just a local police matter. The murder of 13-year-old Christina Long didn't just happen. It was the product of a process that has been developing for decades. This individual murder by itself may have been unpredictable, but the process leading to the murder was deliberate, and the process has targeted every young white Gentile girl in America. Christina was a sixth grade cheerleader at a private Catholic school, a good student and described as sweet by those close to her. Christina had many of the interests common to other girls her age: fashion, dancing, popular music. Her friends did note, however, that recently Christina had begun using cosmetics heavily and dressing provocatively. To understand why, one only needs to look at what she wrote about herself in her internet postings. She wrote in black jive talk she had picked up from watching MTV. The music she listened to was rap. Christina's favorite group was the black female trio called Destiny's Child, which performed songs with titles like Stimulate Me and Bootylicious. Here are just a couple of sentences from her private website, and I quote, "I love to shop, but then again, what girl doesn't? I like hot cars too. I'm not hoe, I just dance a little sexier than most girls." End of quote. For the uninitiated, "I'm not hoe" is black talk for "I'm not a whore." But Christina dressed and talked like a whore. When she went to the shopping mall, she went with the intention of having sex with a 25-year-old illegal alien she had met on the internet. What led a white sixth grader to behave like that? I'll tell you. And I'll also tell you that many other young white girls are behaving like Christina, and a lot of them are even younger than 13. Do you remember JonBenet Ramsey, the 6-year-old girl who was murdered in December 1996? Like Christina, she was a cute, blue-eyed blonde. Like Christina, she used cosmetics heavily, wore sexy clothes, and danced provocatively at the age of 6.
Who could have killed this beautiful little girl? We've been asking that question for 12 years, and we continue to ask it in this half hour.
All of the media attention focused on the murder mystery aspects of the case. Who had killed little JonBenet? Nobody asked why a 6-year-old white girl from a well-to-do family was dressing and behaving like a 20-year-old strip club dancer. Why are young white girls dressing and trying to behave like adult women? Why are they trying to be sexy at such an early age? The basic answer is that young girls are very fashion conscious, and the fashion being pushed by the media is early teen and preteen sexuality. And I hardly need to tell you that people pushing this sexualizing of children are Jews, and that they are doing it deliberately and consciously. It's not a trend that just happened to develop by itself. The dominant media influence on young teens comes from MTV, which is owned by the Jew Sumner Redstone. Says MTV's chairman of the board, Bob Pittman, and I quote, "At MTV, we don't just shoot for the 14-year-olds, we own them." The man who decides on the content of the entertainment presented to 14-year-olds is MTV's president of programming, Brian Graydon, a homosexual Jew. Nickelodeon, a cable channel also owned by Sumner Redstone, shoots for the younger teens and preteens and is pushing the same trend as MTV. Bruce Friend, the vice president of planning for Nickelodeon, says, and I quote, "In the last 10 years, we've seen a rapid development of upper-age children. The 12 to 14-year-olds of yesterday are the 10 to 12s of today. The rise of the preteen teen is the biggest trend we've seen." Redstone's child poisoners take frequent polls to see what effect their poison is having. The Nickelodeon Yankelovich Youth Monitor found in its polls that by the time they are 12, children describe themselves as, quote, flirtatious, sexy, trendy, athletic, cool. And Nickelodeon's Bruce Friend reports that by age 11, children in focus groups say they no longer think of themselves as children. The other side of the coin is the children's fashion industry itself, which, as you may have guessed, is as heavily Jewish as the entertainment media. From the clothing chains Gap Kids and Old Navy, which are run by Donald Fisher and Millard Drexler, to the Wet Seal stores run by Irving Teitelbaum, and Limited 2, which is run by Michael Radin, the Jewish influence on children's clothing is pervasive and pernicious. You may have heard of the recent protest by outraged parents over the children's division of Abercrombie & Fitch, introducing thong-style underwear for 7 to 14-year-old girls. Until 1988, Abercrombie & Fitch was well known as a traditional American supplier of quality outdoor attire. Then it was acquired by the clothing chain The Limited, where, under the guidance of Leslie Wexner, a fervently Zionist Jew, it was transformed into a purveyor of provocative attire for young people. Limited 2 was another of Wexner's creations that followed a similar course. The sexual exploitation of white children by Jewish fashion designers and executives can be traced back at least as far as the early 1980s, when the bisexual Jew Calvin Klein hired Brooke Shields to model his line of jeans and later devised an ad campaign using children in seductive poses. Today's children are being morally and culturally abused by a fashion industry that receives its inspiration from a degenerate entertainment industry. What could be more obvious proof of a deliberate attempt to corrupt our youth? If the FBI really wanted to accomplish something useful for America, instead of collaborating with the ADL's program to abolish our Bill of Rights, it would investigate and terminate the constant flow of propaganda spewed out by the Jewish media and fashion industries, which is subverting our youth. Instead, it is up to us to neutralize this assault on our children. If you are the parent, grandparent, uncle, or aunt of young white children, you have a sacred obligation to help them develop a lifelong resistance to these Jewish attempts to destroy their racial and cultural identity. Don't wait until a policeman comes to your home bearing tragic news. Remember what happened to Christina Long.